Hey folks, my name is Jaxsun. Today we're going to be running through some of the changes for Resto Shamans here going into 9.15. Now the big news out of 9.15 was the changes to the overall AoE limitations, and for Shaman that didn't make a huge difference for us. Elemental seeing their target cap reduced on providing damage to more than 5 targets on Eye of the Storm, your elemental ability. But for Resto Shaman, we're not seeing a whole lot of change here for the most part. The biggest change is that like the Spirit Link Totem's tooltip has been updated, but not actually the Spirit Link Totem itself. All that mechanics is staying the exact same. Let's jump into Mythic Plus talents. Overall, Resto's a pretty darn fun spec if you're looking to run this. Like, I'll run this as a pug and it's a ton of fun. Doesn't need the best communication, but you just bring so much utility and the class is still pretty tanky. So a lot of fun options here for you. Tier 1, you want to go with Undulation, like it mentions here. Tier 2, you're going with Echo of the Elements, just basically having a second charge for the 4 different abilities that it impacts. Is just a quality of life gain. Static charge, really reducing the cooldown of Capacitator Totem. That's very hard to beat. Ancestral Vigor, this is a fun one. Basically increasing your healing per second throughput. Graceful Spirit out of tier 5 is a lot of fun. Just basically reducing the cooldown of Spirit Walker's Grace and increasing your movement speed. So not a major need for us to spend any kind of time in our many shape-shifting forms. Tier 6, Cloudburst Totem is the go-to. Overall, like, this is the best ability on this whole tier. So easy way to go, and lines up kind of well with a few of the other totem builds here, regardless whether you're Kyrian or Night Fae. Finally, Ascendance, it's kind of the go-to for us. Resto doesn't usually have to have as much movement, and that really benefits us. But any kind of opportunity you have to double up on your damage and your throughput makes a huge difference overall for the spec. Anytime a healer can contribute massively like this ability allows us to. So really fun overall what we're proposing. So that's kind of the build there. Now what's a little different about Resto is that we're like incredibly reliant on a couple things. You need to align on which covenant is the right one for you. If you're less familiar with what the popular pick is, we are seeing a lot of Necrolords, like half the Resto Shamans out there are leading, 52%. You've got about a fifth playing Kyrian and a similar fifth playing Venthyr. So pretty standard right across the board there in terms of what's popular. You can see Night Fae trailing dramatically, and that's just tied to its throughput. I personally am leaning towards Night Fae, but that's only because through 9.1 you have to pick one single covenant. So because I like to swap between enhancement and elemental, where Night Fae is actually much more favorable, that's why I've kind of been tacked in for this one. Really looking forward to the quality of life change coming in 9.15 that allows us to swap between covenants without any kind of penalty. It'll definitely increase the amount of time I'm playing Resto, especially if I'm just able to jump over to a Kyrian or a Necrolord. Necrolord is so fantastic. Like, my one complaint about us as shamans that every once in a while we stop being tanky and start getting really squishy, and having that Fleshcraft shield makes a great quality of life adjustment. Now we're going to quickly swap over to Legendaries. There's kind of 2 you want to be rolling with. If you're going with that Kyrian build, so I'm talking to a fifth of you, Raging Vesper Vortex, that's our legendary specific for the Kyrian Covenant. It is absolutely fantastic for both Mythic Plus keys as well as raids. It's like the default choice to go with if you're going to be a Kyrian. However, if you're not a Kyrian and you're looking to increase your damage and you want to drive it up especially in Mythic Plus as a Necrolord, you want to go with the Deep Tremor Stone. And that basically takes your Earth Elemental and it provides a permanent earthquake attached to it. So really fun, great to see this big giant footprint on your Earth Elemental causing some pretty substantial damage if you can get your mobs stacked up accordingly. So overall, in a really fun spot there. So as I mentioned, if you're strictly going to play Resto, you really probably want to go with Necrolord. Fleshcraft helps with any kind of progression work you're rolling with, but Primordial Wave, which is the Necrolord ability, covers just a bunch of bases that healers need to deal with during progression, both spread and spot healing. So it's overall a really fun state right now for Resto. That's about it, folks. Not a tremendous amount of changes overall for Shaman, regardless if you're Resto or the other two specs. I am quite looking forward to pushing some higher level keys, hopefully with this character, and seeing what else I can get my hands on. I know Shaman's popularity's dipped a little bit, but what I'm really excited about with 9.15 is that we're not seeing any kind of real material nerfs with the class as a whole, let alone individual specs. So I think that should allow us, as we gear up a little bit more, to enjoy a little bit smoother gameplay. Let me know your thoughts down below. Definitely hit that subscribe button, and I hope to hear from you all soon. Thanks for taking the time to check out the video, and I'll see you later.